What's going on, everybody? Well, the year 2017 is coming to a close, so it's about that time to start going over our best and worst of the year lists. And I'm going to kick off this year with going over my top 10 horror movies of 2017. But I'm not doing it alone. You guys love whenever me and Lee from DrumDums do our little battle for our rankings. We did it with the Texas Chainsaw franchise. We did it with the Chucky franchise. Now we're doing it with the top 10 horror movies of 2017. And we're also bringing in another victim to get demolished by my awesome list. Just kidding. Bryan Lomax from Bryan Lomax Movie Talks. I'm gonna have the links to these guys' videos down in the comment or in the video description below as soon as their videos drop. They should all drop at the same time. But once you're done with this ranking, go over to Lee, go over to Bryan Lomax, check out their video, subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, like their video, and put in the comment section which of the top 10s of us three you agree with the most, just for some friendly competition. So, going back over all the horror movies of 2017 and all the horror movies that I've seen in the year of 2017, man, we've had some awesome horror movies and we have had some horrible horror movies. Which reminds me, keep an eye out this weekend, probably on Sunday, for all three of our lists on our top 5 worst horror movies of 2017 as a little bit of a follow-up to this video. But 2017, it's been a crazy year, some peaks, some valleys all over the place, but we have had a damn good year for horror. Much better than last year, much better than the year before. We've had some rough years for horror. This year was not one of them, despite some stinkers. And I have 10 really good movies. I was surprised that I could actually compile a 10. I was worried I was going to have to go down to top 5, but I've got 10 of them to talk about. But I have one honorable mention. It's a movie that I actually watched this past weekend. I'm going to try to do a full review for it, but like I say, it's always a try whenever it's in this busy time of the year when you got Star Wars, you got all these best and worst of videos I got to do, plus I still got Patreon videos I'm trying to do, so don't expect this video, but better watch out. Was actually a really cool holiday horror movie. It's kind of like a sister to The Babysitter. There's some similar things going on, like in, whenever I was talking about this movie with a friend, I said it's kind of like the Dante's Peak to The Babysitter's Volcano. It's kind of like that situation, but basically it tells a story of these 3 kids who are at home and there's this home invasion situation going on. There's a big first act twist, and then the movie goes nuts from there. I felt like it held back a little bit with the gore, and I felt like some of the characters weren't really likable for multiple reasons, which maybe I'll get into with a full review, but other than that, I'm just going to let you go into this movie as blind as possible. It is definitely worth a watch. It was a pretty cool movie, and it just barely got nudged out of this top 10 list. So starting off at number 10 with the movies that did make my list, we've got Leatherface. Now, Leatherface was a movie that I expected dick from. I didn't think this movie was going to be good at all. I said it in my review. I thought it was going to be trash. I'm not a fan of prequels. Didn't like the way that the trailers looked. The whole concept of it to me was just like, this is going to be a bargain bin movie. And maybe it's because my expectations were so low, I'll admit it. I actually enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I thought it was a really effective prequel. I thought it led into the 1974 movie really well. People debate back and forth about who is eventually revealed to be Leatherface as far as if that actually makes sense. I think it makes perfect sense. I'm not going to spoil who it is and get into discussion why, but I think people who are harping on those details are just kind of harping on details for the sake of harping on them. But the movie does a lot of cool lead-ins as far as kind of identifying characters that will become big characters in the 1974 movie without really beating you over the head with their names or telling you, hey, look, it's that guy you need to keep an eye out for. Other than that, it's just kind of a dirty Devil's Reject style road movie. There's some good kills in it. There's a lot of blood. There's some really weird shit going on with this little couple and some sex with a dead body. Yeah, that's in there. It was just a wild ride to me, and I really enjoyed it. It wasn't the best of the franchise. I put it somewhere in the middle for my ranking, but I enjoyed it overall. Number 10 is Leatherface. Number 9 is actually going to be a Netflix movie, 1922, in a year where we got a ton of Stephen King adaptations. One you might see a little bit higher on this list. 1922 was one of the better ones. Now this comes to you on Netflix. It's got Thomas Jane as the main actor in a role that will make you believe that Thomas Jane is way more talented than that guy ever got the chance to be, because he just disappears into this role. Very simple setup. Him and his son plot to kill the wife. They kill her and suddenly things start going wrong. Karma comes back to get them. It's kind of a story you've seen before, but it's an effective story. It's a good little period piece. It's effectively creepy whenever you start getting into some of the supernatural elements that King is so good at bringing into his stories. And the way that everything falls out, especially in the final scene, it's very kind of eerie and it leaves you on kind of a down note going, whoa, that was wicked. where it kind of falls lower on my list was just because it's more of a similar story. We've seen stories like this before, but for Thomas Jane's performance alone, this deserves to make my top 10. I really enjoyed it. It is kind of a slow burn in spots, but once it starts going, once the darkness starts setting over this story, it will grip you by the throat and you will be entertained until the end. So check out 1922. That is my number 9. Number 8 is a huge surprise to me that this movie is on my best list and not at the top of my worst list, just based off the title and the trailer, and that is Happy Death Day. I was shocked at how much I genuinely enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought that it was really entertaining. I thought the main character, Tree, despite having a stupid name, was a really cool kind of character arc. You get to see her where she is just this terrible person, and throughout these multiple days where she's just getting killed over and over and over again, you get to see her actually grow into this strong character, this good character, this character that you want to see survive and really kind of make it out at the end as this awesome person that she seems to be growing to be. I think that the Groundhog Day style setup that they do in this, which has been beaten to death in Hollywood, is actually pretty entertaining. They actually find some cool ways to mix that with the horror genre. Where the movie faltered a little bit for me was that I felt like they didn't go far enough with the gore, far enough with the kills. I feel like if this was a hard R movie that had Final Destination style kills, it would probably be in my top 3. That's how much I enjoyed it, but it's a hard PG-13. They hardly show any blood. Most of the kills, whenever she's actually getting killed by this person, even in the montage when it's supposed to be for comedic effect, it's kind of off-screen. So to me, they watered down the potential of this movie to make a PG-13 rating and to make a little bit more money, but very enjoyable movie. I really thought it was cool, and I'd be up for seeing more movies of this style from Blumhouse, kind of horror comedy or throwing in some tired genres like the Groundhog Day thing into horror and seeing what comes out the other end. Really enjoyed Happy Death Day. Check it out. That is my number 8. Number 7 is a movie that's going to be on a lot of people's top of the year list, and that is Get Out. This is the directorial debut, and I believe the writing debut as far as a horror movie of Jordan Peele, one half of Key and Peele. And this is basically the movie that just kind of took Hollywood by storm when this came out. It had like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. People were going nuts left and right about this movie. I feel it's more of a thriller than a horror movie, so I'm kind of cheating by putting it on this list, but that's going to go into what I'm going to talk about as far as my negatives of it. Really effective storyline, really good acting, really well directed. I mean, this guy has like a visionary kind of style to him as far as a director. I mean, it's baffling that this is his first directorial effort. I'll just say that. As far as my negatives with the movie, I feel like it's extremely overrated. Like, this is going to be on a lot of people's top of the year. I feel like a lot of it is just because of the social commentary in it and because of kind of the things that the movie makes you ask and the thing that the movie talks about, which are very important questions. But to me, the movie is an effective first watch. It's a decent second watch. It's not a movie that I'm going to find myself throwing in all the time. It's somewhat predictable in spots, but it goes there. It goes for broke. You do have some blood. You do have some crazy stuff going on. Like I said, I really love the acting and the performances in it, especially like Catherine Keener is really good in this movie. You're going to see the guy, Daniel Kaluuya, I believe is his name, the main character. You're going to see him in other stuff. Really enjoyed Get Out. Just feel like it's overrated, so that's why it's a little bit lower on this list, but definitely worth checking out if you have not seen it. So that's my number 7. Number 6 is the biggest surprise on this list by a landslide, by a mile, and that's Never Hike Alone. Now, this is a fan-made independent movie that is kind of an unofficial Friday the 13th sequel. They made this movie for 17 grand. It literally has one actor and one guy playing Jason, and until like the final act, but for the most part of the movie, for like 50 of the 60 minutes that this movie is, it's just under 60 minutes, it's just one guy in the woods. It's like found footage documentary style movie where he discovers Camp Crystal Lake, starts telling stories about it, and lo and behold, Jason Voorhees is there ready to fuck him up. And I'm not a huge Friday the 13th fan, at least as it stands now. I'm getting ready to do that review series here in about a month. Maybe I'll grow an appreciation for them, but as it stands now, Never Hike Alone is at least in my top 3 Friday the 13th films of all time. It is so damn good, and it's a giant middle finger to the idiotic studios that just cannot take their head out of their ass and make a fucking Friday the 13th movie. They have been struggling over their own feet and just tripping over themselves, trying to get an idea to bud a new Friday the 13th film, and this film shows you, for no money at all, you can do one. It is so simple. You just have to execute it well. You have to have good acting for the most part, or at least a decent story. You have to have a kick-ass Jason. You don't even really need awesome kills because there's only one like genuinely bloody kill in this. but it's all about execution. It's so simple, and that's what this movie tells you. And it excites me because I'm curious if we're going to get some people that are going to do like their own Nightmare on Elm Street movie, their own Halloween movie. If this fan-made horror movie or even just franchise films is going to become a thing, that excites me because this movie proves that sometimes the fans know what the fuck they're doing when the big studio heads have no clue. So Never Hike Alone. If you're a Friday the 13th fan, it is a must-watch. If you're like me and you're kind of casual, not so much a Friday the 13th fan, check it out. It's less than an hour. It's on YouTube, free to watch. It's worth it. Like I said, top 3 Friday the 13th films. It's awesome. Hats off to all of you guys that made that film because holy crap, what an achievement. That is my number 6 of 2017. Starting off with the top 5. Number 5 is going to be M. Night Shyamalan's Split. Now, when I first saw this movie, it didn't quite get there for me. Upon rewatch, some of the things that bugged me about it really didn't bug me at all, and the things that I loved about it, I loved even more. This is one hell of a return to form for M. Night Shyamalan, and it's got the best performance you're ever going to see from James McAvoy, at least up to date. It's got a really intriguing story. It's got an awesome ending if you're a fan of the backlog of M. Night Shyamalan. It's been almost a year since the movie came out, but I'm still not going to spoil what happens. But for a movie that just kind of quietly came out in January, this movie kind of exploded as far as the horror and the movie sphere. People talking about M. Night's return, talking about the ending. What does this mean? Now, for the most part, if you guys have been following the news, you know that this is going to be followed up with another movie called Glass. But Split was just so effective at being this small, little, intriguing psychological thriller. And M. Night Shyamalan is best whenever he is in this contained space and just tells this bottled up story. The main reason to see this movie is James McAvoy. I mean, the dude, the story, he's got 23 personalities. He's got split personality disorder. And he is incredible whenever he puts that on screen because he literally changes between 3 or 4 characters on a dime in the same scene, and it's like he's having a conversation in a room with himself, and it feels like there's 6 people talking. It's incredible to watch him. There's some things with the girls, the victims, the ones who are actually being kidnapped that still bug me slightly, which hold this back as far as my top 5, but incredible movie, and I'm just happy to have M. Night Shyamalan back, the guy that had 3 incredible films right out the gate and then just delivered shit from then on for years. I'm glad that this is back, and I'm glad to see that we are going to get the conclusion that this story deserves with Glass. Can't wait to see that. Split is my number 5. Number 4 is a movie that I would smack you a year ago if you told me this was going to be in my top 10, let alone my top 5, and that is Annabelle Creation. Talk about improving everything about the previous movie. Now, I'm one of the few people in the world, like maybe 3 of us, that doesn't hate the first Annabelle. I actually thought it was pretty effectively creepy in a lot of spots. Definitely not a good movie, but not the worst thing ever made that a lot of people talk about it. Now, Annabelle Creation, probably as far as scares, like genuine creep factor, is probably the scariest movie on this list, honestly. Like, it is really, really intense in some sequences. I feel like it really leads into that Annabelle movie almost beautifully, to the point where it almost makes you appreciate Annabelle a little bit more. You get great direction by David F. Sandberg. This is the guy who is kind of like the guy that James Wan has taken under his wing. He did the movie Lights Out, and he's going to do Shazam, supposedly if Shazam even gets made. And the dude just knows horror. You could tell that he has some of those James Wan styles to him, but he's definitely got his own style to it. A really cool story, really creepy, really good lead into a movie that most people hate that makes you appreciate that movie more. Can't say enough good about Annabelle Creation. I wish I would have saw it in the theater so I could have got a full review out for it, but I saw it on home video, loved it. That's my number 4. Number 3 is actually a movie that I didn't quite like that much whenever I first saw it, despite everybody's praise for it. Watched it a second time and it just clicked for me immediately, and that is The Devil's Candy. Now, this is the director, I believe his name is Sean Byrne, who did this wild-ass movie, The Loved Ones. If you have not seen that, check that movie out. It's probably even better than this one, to be honest with you. But The Devil's Candy is a true metal horror movie. You got Ethan Embry, who's this father. He's a painter. He's an artist. Him and his daughter are big metalheads. They move with their with the mom into this little farmhouse that, unbeknownst to them, had like this little bit of a family massacre years ago. And the devil kind of starts taunting Ethan Embry, as well as this other character who was actually the one who murdered everybody in that house. And it's about those 2 stories kind of converging towards the 3rd act. It's got an awesome soundtrack. It's a really creative, effective movie. It's got a lot of layers, a lot of little hidden messages in the story, especially through the ending, that I did not latch onto at all the first time, which is why I kind of felt like it was a little underwhelming. Whenever I latched onto that and I saw what was underneath the surface, loved this movie. Definitely was a first day purchase for me on Blu-ray. It's a cheap buy. Definitely go out and check this one out. It might even still be on Netflix. It was on Netflix for a while. Devil's Candy, number 3. All right, top 2, people. Number 2 was easily my most anticipated movie all year long once I saw the first trailer for it, and that is Stephen King's It. Now, I'm still a pretty big fan of the 1990 miniseries, despite it not being that great. A lot of it's nostalgia. A lot of it's the fact that Tim Curry's version of Pennywise was the one of 2 characters that genuinely scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. Him and Zelda from Pet Sematary. Those are it. Those are the only ones that ever really got to me, gave me nightmares, and freaked me the fuck out. And I was really looking forward to this remake because I've said for years, I wish I had it documented, I've said it for years, when people ask, what's a movie that should be remade? I always said It. It should be remade because you can easily improve on that miniseries. And they did. I didn't love Bill Skarsgård's take on Pennywise as much as Tim Curry, and a lot of that's just because of the effect he had on me as a kid. But we'll see what he does in the second one. We'll see if he can kind of bring it all together and make me love it even more. I felt like there was a little bit too much CGI with him, but as far as the positives, he's an effectively creepy Pennywise. There's a lot of wild-ass scenes with him and some of the method acting that he had to do, like with the way his eyes turn and the way he kind of has this mannequin contortionist look to him that makes him very monster-like. All of the kids, like this is basically the Goonies in a horror movie. Like you love all these kids for the most part. I didn't like one of them. And the dialogue, the camaraderie between these kids, the friendship, it just totally takes you away. And you're watching a movie that is just like this coming of age, nostalgic feeling movie that you love to watch that has a demonic fucking clown in the background. A lot of really cool kills. It definitely goes for the R rating in a few spots, although I feel like the CGI gets in the way a little bit here and there. Not to harp on that again. But overall, just a smash of a remake. One of the best remakes ever. One of the best movies this year. And like I said, number 2 on my best horror movies of 2017. Cannot wait for It Chapter 2. Please do not fuck up the adult storyline like you did in 1990. Please. It's number 2. And number 1, my favorite horror movie of 2017, a movie that will be in my top 10 movies of 2017, a movie that came out of absolutely nowhere because I have never heard anything about it until it popped up on my Netflix feed, The Babysitter. This movie is fucking awesome. I love it so much. I've seen it multiple times since it came out. I reviewed it. There's very little negative that I have to say with this movie. It is one of the most fun and genuinely entertaining movies that I've seen all year. It might be the most fun that I've had with the movie all year by far, because it just tells this coming of age story of this kid who's kind of like the geek. He gets bullied. He's got this fine ass babysitter that he obviously longs for, and she's the coolest babysitter of all time. She's totally opposite of the stereotype that you think whenever you think of this hot blonde babysitter. You think she's going to be stuck up, she's going to be cruel to the kid, she's going to tell him to go to sleep at 6 o'clock and just stay in your room, stay away from me, my boyfriend's going to come over. And she's everything but that. She's like his best friend. She's the coolest person in the world, and she just happens to be the head of a satanic cult of murderers. And they fucking sliced this dude's head open right in the middle of the living room. And from then on, it's like this demented version of Home Alone where this kid is trying to survive while all these cult members are trying to slay his ass for a sacrifice. And it's just one of the most wild, gory, insane, hilarious movies that I've seen in a long time. I loved every moment of it. It was, like I said, the most fun that I've had all year. They leave a little bit of a tease for a second movie, and God, I hope that they get it. This is by far the best thing that McG has ever done. Yes, McG directed this fucking movie. Babysitter is so damn good. I really hope they get a Blu-ray release. I know it wasn't made by Netflix, just distributed by Netflix as far as the streaming service, so fingers crossed we get a kick-ass Blu-ray release because The Babysitter is just pure awesome. If I haven't sold you enough, just go take a stab in the dark, no pun intended. Go watch The Babysitter. I promise you, you will not be sorry. It is an awesome movie and my number 1 horror movie of 2017. All right, guys, well, that wraps up my top 10 horror movies of 2017. Remind you one more time, please go over to Lee's channel at DrumDums. Check out his list. Go over to Bryan's channel at Bryan Lomax Movie Talk. Check out his list. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber to those awesome channels. Tell them I sent you over there, and leave a comment in any of ours or all 3 of our videos saying which of our top 10 rankings you agree with the most, or just post your own ranking down in the comment section below and we'll discuss your ranking, guys. Please like and share this video. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber to this channel. You won't regret it, I promise you. If you want to check out some of my social media links, I've got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter down in the video description below, as well as the link to my Patreon page, which is a great way to build and support this channel with your own hard-earned fandom, guys, and get some awesome exclusive content for your eyes only if you decide to become a patron. Now, if you guys want to check out some more of my videos, as always, you can check those out by clicking right over here.